BGC, it's your girl K Riddy.
Right.
Check out this new boom bap from the M Chaps.
Let's do this. Here we go.
Remember way back in 2019, we were innocent and we were living in a dream. And 2020 came and suddenly it seems that everything we don't need now became reality. I'm looking at the world and hating what I see. I'm looking around and there's no social distancing. I'm looking up and hoping for some policy instead. I'm looking up and all I wanna do is scream because this situation got me with a sore esophagus. But not because of what you think or your hypothesis. I'm sick of willful ignorance and the incompetence. Gathering without a thought to what may be the consequence. A fascinating field for future anthropologists. Looking back at what went wrong with ancient hominids. To them I bet we look as simple as a nautilus. Two divided to decide a flawless metamorphosis. It's a monotonous apocalypse in this metropolis. There is no stopping this populace. Homogeneous, anomalous, incompetence. Crossing lots of continents. Idolatrous monuments to tautologists. Apologists, social networks anonymous with idiotic dominance. You'll never be as cool as when you lay in the necropolis. You know it's true when they say if you want some prominence, you gotta break a couple legs to make some omelets. So every single one of you who do the things you do, like nothing's changed cause you don't care what others are going through. Imagine this was something that was inescapable. Would you change your ways? Would you change your attitude? So obscene to see the scenes, a simple selfish view. Hoarding everything as if they needed more than you. Justify it with some properly poor excuse. A bunch of pensioner and tell yourself you had to do it. Truth.
And welcome back to Music Student 101.
Welcome back.
How are you doing, Matt?
I am doing well. I'm sitting here just about 10 or 12 feet from your actual corporeal person.
Yeah.
Back live in the studio after over a year.
In the flesh.
Indeed.
Feels pretty good.
Yeah, feels weird and good.
Oh, man. Well, we are back on another Listener Compositions episode.
Indeed, yeah. We love these so much.
We really do.
Yeah. We get to hear all of the great stuff you all out there have been writing and sending in to us.
Before we talk about this first track, man, what's new with you, Matt?
Oh, let's see. Nothing. It's summer, and my course load is always pretty substantially lower during this time. So I've been composing a lot, and I have been eating lots of lasagna.
Oh yeah, you had a birthday, didn't you?
I had a birthday. Yeah.
Happy birthday, Matt.
Thank you very much. I'm old enough to not really look forward to my birthday quite as much. I wouldn't say dreading, but I'm in that stage now where it's not just the super awesome thing it used to be. So
you're in the indifference stage.
I'm in the kind of indifferent stage, but I had a lot of great people around me who made it a lot of fun in a lot of ways. So. And continue to do so. So it's been fun. It's been good. Eating lots of summer vegetables, which is a thing. You know. And yeah, that's pretty much been me. You know, I've been, tentatively branching out a little these last couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, we're sitting here corporeally in the studio and everything after having spent over a year pretty much restricted to my house. We're doing little things, tiptoeing back out into society, and that's good and scary all at the same time, but yeah, so life goes on.
I'm celebrating the fact that our Zoom woes are gone.
Our Zoom woes are gone, replaced by our good old familiar just in the studio tech woes.
Yeah.
Which we know and love.
It still took us considerable amount of time to get up and running, but here we are.
But here we are, and yeah.
And then I asked you what you've been up to. You said lasagna, and that reminded me it was your birthday. It wasn't cake. It was lasagna. And you had a lasagna day for your birthday.
Well, I ask for lasagna every year for my birthday. It's really the only birthday present I ask for, and is some homemade lasagna. And I get it every year, and it's outstanding every year. I get my once a year lasagna, and it's great. I love it.
Maybe if you call it Lasagna Day instead of your birthday, you'll be less indifferent towards it.
Lasagna. I should start calling it Lasagna Day, because that's what it really is.
Right. Something to look forward to.
Indeed, indeed. What about you? What have you been up to, Jeremy?
Oh, just enjoying the summer. It's been raining a lot over here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm experimenting with, I'm trying to grow some kind of food. And I looked up, I was like, okay, what's an invasive species that I can't possibly screw up? And I found this plant called the Jerusalem artichoke.
Okay.
Are you familiar with it?
No.
It's actually like a tuber. It's like a kind of water chestnut meets potato kind of thing.
Interesting.
And you can do all those things that you could with water chestnuts and or potatoes, but it actually has kind of an artichoke flavor. It's not a part of the artichoke family. It's actually part of the sunflower family.
Interesting.
Yeah, but those things are like 10 feet tall now. And now it just has something I have to keep in check so it doesn't overgrow my yard. But I'll be eating. I'll be able to eat something.
I hope you like them.
Yeah, right. They better be good. But yeah, man. Yeah, it's summer and, my gigs are picking up. I'm now officially kind of part of 3 different bands. And we've been practicing and gigging and playing. And work's been picking up. So I can't complain,
Wonderful.
really.
Excellent.
Yeah. But enough about us.
Enough about us.
And we're just gonna get right into the music. I think we're gonna skip the reviews and
No
the
reviews.
Yeah, and all the listener mail and stuff like that, and just get right into the music.
Yeah, let's just get right into it. We got a lot to cover.
Yeah. We are here to talk about our wonderful and talented listener composers.
And we have a slew of new ones this time.
We do, and then some that we weren't able to get to last time.
Right, yeah. Some of them that have been sticking with us for a while, and some that are brand new. And this is fun. And that begins with what we just heard, right?
Yeah. Okay, so what we heard was a piece called CAS, and that is by Michael Chapman out of Perth, Western Australia. Remember when we said we were done complaining about COVID?
Did we say that?
We said that, but we didn't say that our listeners couldn't. And Mike put this together for his students. Why don't you tell us what Mike has to say about this?
So Mike says, my name is Mike and I live in Perth, Western Australia. I'm a high school music teacher and I've been listening to the show for a couple of years now. I started listening when I was going to be on a series of long flights and I wanted something to help me pass the time. I have a degree in composition and production, and after working for almost 12 years as a tradie, which is a tradesperson, I went back to uni, which is the university, what we call college here in America.
Translating Australian.
Right, to get my teaching qualifications. It's been a while since I studied, and it has been really fun to listen to a podcast dedicated to something I find so interesting. I wanted to share a piece of music I wrote. My 7th grade classes study hip-hop music, and part of the course involves creating a piece of music and some lyrics to go along with it. For a bit of fun, I decided I would allow the student to write a COVID diss track. The piece I'm sharing with you is called CAS, which stands for COVID Ain't Shit.
Yes.
My students don't know this.
Uh-huh.
It's an example I made to show my students what can be done using an iPad. And this is where it gets fascinating to me. This was created entirely in GarageBand and features my partner, Kristen.
Yeah. That was her voice you heard at the very beginning.
Right.
There's a lot of familiar elements in this little piece right here.
Yes.
For one thing, you have the kind of the announcer bringing in the main talent.
Correct.
As his partner Kristen did.
Yes.
And then the fact that it's a diss track. Well, this has been going around for at least a couple of decades. The idea of rappers dissing other rappers.
Dissing other rappers, yeah. I think the idea of dissing a disease might be novel.
Yeah, right, yes. Yeah, because oftentimes when we got into the West Coast, East Coast rivalries, some of them ended very unhappily.
To say the least.
So you have to be careful who you diss and how you diss them, but I think it's okay to diss COVID because
pretty much everybody hates this.
It can kill you, but not immediately. Well, I think it's perfectly okay to diss COVID.
I think it is.
And then what else? I felt like I heard some inspiration from some of my other favorite hip-hop acts.
Yeah, well, it strikes me that I would never be a good rapper because We've got a printout. Mike sent us the lyrics to look over, and just reading them for myself, the way I read it is so completely lacking in rhythm, and like phrase and form that it really just impresses me and leaves me in admiration to hear the actual track and to hear Mike do it, and phrase these things sort of structurally. Because when I'm just reading it, I read it with the least amount of rhythm you could possibly imagine. And it just makes me think, wow, this is why I could never be a rapper. This is just not a talent I have, to sort of impose the English language onto a rhythmic structure like that. So
That's probably the same reason I can't be a rapper.
yeah.
And then memorization. You never see rappers with a piece of paper in their hand up on the stage.
Right, yeah. A lot of it is actually what they call freestyle. Is just spontaneous. And
Oh, that's the most impressive.
yeah, I can't do that any more than I can do jazz solos. I'm not a spontaneous person.
But this one was actually very well scripted and written, and it has some of the most entertaining, like we all know I'm a vocabulary buff.
Right.
And it has some of the most fascinating and entertaining words and word combinations in here.
Yeah.
And let's see here. Okay, so the lines, I'm looking at the world and hating what I see. I'm looking around and there's no social distancing. I'm looking up and hoping for some policy. Instead, I'm looking up and all I want to do is scream.
Yeah, right.
That reminded me of Tribe Called Quest. God, what was the name of that song? We the People.
Yeah.
And actually, I kind of I tried to emulate that on one of our intro bumper tracks. But there's just that, and we're going to put the lyrics up on the website, musicstudent101.com, episode 101, and you can see all these lyrics and play along, listen, enjoy, because it's some really good stuff.
Indeed.
And another element about hip hop is you're not going to hear a lot of musical changes in the background,
Right.
There's a lot of repetition, and that's good for hip hop because there's often very busy lyrics in hip hop.
Yeah, we've had discussions just between ourselves about how the complexity of one facet of a musical style will often sort of necessitate the simplicity of a different facet of that style, right? Mm-hmm. And rhythmic complexity will often, not all the time, but often necessitate harmonic simplicity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And harmonic complexity will often necessitate rhythmic simplicity. And then there's sort of the striking the balance of the two, but or the three when you throw in melody. But,
absolutely, yeah. And this, I'll just give you a quick idea of what's happening here. It's all kind of the same thing repeated, but it's we have an F. What it seems like an open F. That's kind of the theme going on in the melody. And it could be an F minor, but I don't know. It could be, I don't think it's an F major. I'm not hearing a very 30s presence,
Yeah, is that F got a G flat that it goes in the melody?
On the, it's actually 5 flat 6.
Okay, so
4,
that's
5.
C, D flat. Okay, yeah.
C, D flat, D flat.
That would sort of maybe suggest natural minor.
Mm-hmm.
The flat 6 is diatonic to F minor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So. And then at first I thought there was no bass line. And I was like, huh? But on second listen, when you hear that kick drum, it's actually a digital kick that actually has a note contained within it. And that note is actually... That's a C.
Yeah.
So that's the 5th of the chord. So it's really an F in second inversion, right?
Yes.
And you have to listen kind of hard for it, but that low C note is definitely there. So.
Fascinating.
And then there's only one time in the whole piece where he busts out a triplet. And that's...
I think I heard it.
Yeah. You don't care what others are going through. You don't care, however he said it. You don't care what others are going through.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, he needed more rhythmic points to get that phrase into the meter, right? So,
And
more subdivisions.
It being the only trip, it kind of calls my attention to that line. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So, Michael, if you don't want your students to know that you use profanity, don't let them know about
Maybe
this.
tell them about this podcast.
But you should share it with them anyways, because I think they'll be very proud of you, and I think they'll get a kick out of hearing you on the on a worldwide podcast.
Absolutely. Let's hope so.
Yeah.
7th grade kids are pretty unimpressed, actually, but but who knows?
Well, I, for one, was impressed.
We were impressed, yeah.
And we want to thank Michael Chapman again for sharing this piece, COVID Ain't Shit,
Absolutely.
with us. And go back and listen to it again, and again, dig those lyrics. And I should say, you can find Michael's music under most major platforms, streaming platforms, under Chapman the Educator, or Who'da Thunk It, spelled Hooda, Thunk It, Thunket. And we'll put that on the website also. Okay, moving on, we have our friend Pasi Pasiaala.
From Finland.
And we don't hear a lot from Finland, but it's fantastic to hear from somebody
Absolutely.
from Finland. And let's read a little bit about what Pasi has to say about this piece, and then we'll play it for you.
All right. So Pasi says, I finally got the courage to share my composition with you. It is called Desperate House 5. As you might guess, the meter is 5/4. Mm-hmm. It is written in HookPad. I'm not familiar with HookPad.
I believe that's an app.
Yeah, okay. The key is C major, but it uses a lot of borrowed chords. I didn't have any particular theory in mind when composing. I just followed my ear and then found the mode from which to borrow the chord. Mm-hmm. I have 2 friends with whom I play. They play saxophone and bass. Myself, I play guitar. Unfortunately, it is really difficult to get all 3 of us to the same place at the same time, so we haven't been able to practice this so that we could have recorded it. So the bass is from GarageBand as well as the drums.
Okay, so
Let's hear it.
let's hear it. And this is, again, Desperate House 5 from Pasi Pasiaala. we go.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Love this style.
Yeah, it's it gives me like a feeling of nostalgia for some reason for like those late 70s, early 80s television
I can hear that.
music cues.
I can hear that, yeah.
Like maybe the Golden Girls were kind of got the opening establishing shot of the Golden Girls house before we see what's up with Blanche, Rose, Dorothy, and Mama.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe more of a like a cop show or something.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
You know? Yeah.
It does have a chill kind of like everything is okay kind of feeling, you know?
Yeah, one of those shows like Quincy MD or something where some random person solves murders. I don't know, you know.
So yeah, it's got this just a good mellow feel to it that I really, really dig.
Yeah.
And I think hats off to, there's not a lot of people who can pull off odd time signatures and make them feel so natural.
Sure, yeah, that is tough.
So the bass line has got this kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
And that seems to be, and then the drums are like boom, but so the drums are accenting 1, 2, and 3, and then the bass kind of responds on beats 4 and 5.
Yeah,
you know,
pretty cool.
So that's a cool technique, and the melody itself, it's just been in my head constantly. Even since, you know, we were going to do this on part 3, listener episode part 3, and it's just probably going to be in my head forever.
Yeah, it's the way that melody is laid over the 5 beats. Because you have 5 beats, you have enough room to play that play that 3-note motif, that 3-note hook twice. You know, before the final end of the motivic unit, right?
I see.
Yeah, da 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 da. You know, so before you step down and change chords, you have the opportunity to play that twice.
Yeah.
So you get to hear it twice, and it becomes even more catchy when you do that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So by the end of the first 4 measures, after the bass vamp, you know, you got 4 measures of that. After the first 4 measures of the melody, you already heard that 4 times, you know. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to get stuck in your head pretty good. You know?
Yeah. So Pasi, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know how to write a hook, it appears.
Don't let anyone know.
Yeah. Hey, can you write me a hook? I heard you can write a hook. Well, that is Pasi playing the guitar.
Yes.
And Pasi had his bandmate, Perty Lamberg, put down the sax part.
Very nice.
And as he said, the bass is just MIDI, but I thought it sounded pretty convincing. That was a pretty good bass sound.
It's scary what you can do with GarageBand. It really is. I wonder if he sequenced that. I guess he had to have sequenced that bass line because it changes. Yeah.
Compared to what's on the notation?
Compared to like an Apple loop or something, that's probably a sequenced out bass line.
Oh yeah. I get the sense that he has the notation for it based on, I think, some MIDI he wrote.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. We're about to get another listen, but we're going to hear a little bit about his process first.
Okay.
So Pasi says, regarding my process, I started doing this last summer. I actually wanted to write something in 7/4, but it wasn't possible in HookPad. So I went 5/4. I think I first came up with the chord progression listening to where my ear wanted to go next. When I had it down, I started doing melody by putting a few bars on a loop and playing guitar over it until it settled. Good technique.
Yeah.
I use the same approach for the bass. I have a pedal by which I can lower the pitch by an octave, so I use that when composing the bass part. So he actually, using his guitar, just used an octave pedal to get that deeper sound.
Yeah.
And that helped him to compose the bass line without even having to play or own a bass.
Very nice.
So now that we've talked a little bit about it, what else? Oh, he said it was in the key of C. We kind of thought maybe we got an A minor 9 going to,
going to A flat.
So.
Yeah. Which, an A flat is the enharmonic equivalent of G sharp, right? So that's just a borrowed 7. So yeah, I could feel like this is in the main melody is actually in A minor. I think we're tonicizing A minor pretty well. You know, A minor 9, and of course those kinds of those kinds of extended harmonies and things are just par for the course in this style, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, A minor 9 is just 1. You know, we don't have to worry about, you know. So that's going to also include a flat 7, probably above the 9.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, again, in this style, that's just par for the course. Those kind of those are considered consonances. They're not considered dissonance like they would be maybe in classical music.
The style that might actually, I guess I would consider this the jazz.
Oh yes.
Kind of style.
Oh yes.
A lot of chromaticism.
Oh yes.
Chords you might not expect.
Oh yeah.
But somehow they just work. So, having discussed that, let us listen again. And maybe comment as we go.
We should also probably say that the main melody is A minor, but it does move to its relative major C with the C major 7. Yeah. So like the second half, definitely moves to the relative major of C, and that part is definitely in C.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a C major to a G minor on that first. So it's like C 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2. So it's I like the way he uses that fifth beat to make this, to add in a little extra chord on before the changes too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
this is kind of neo-Riemannian, right? Moving up by thirds.
Yeah. Okay.
So we sort of prolonged G by going G, B flat, D, and sort of arpeggiated that G minor, that G chord that way.
Ah, wow! I didn't even catch that. Good
Yeah.
one, Matt. Good one.
It's almost like I do this for a living or something, right?
Almost.
And then ending with the G major 7, which we'll circle again, but before it gets back to the C, but yeah.
And then the end of the song, it ends with a D major chord going from an E flat to D major. So
yeah, don't know what to make of that.
Don't know how it got there, but it works. And Pasi said that he didn't really keep a lot of theory in mind when doing this. He just kind of let it go.
Well, that's what makes for the most interesting songs. Is when you just sort of write from your heart, right, where it takes you, and then the theorist goes back later and decides to follow the breadcrumbs. That's what makes the most interesting music, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually very difficult to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to bring my theory education to bear and create music.
Mm-hmm.
Some people find that works. A lot of people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Or a lot of people say, well, I've got to sort of start with an intuition and then sort of apply other things. It's a very interesting conflagration between theory, knowing theory, and then writing music. It's almost like two halves of your brain have to communicate with each other.
Yeah. But hey, you write it, send it to us, and we'll analyze it.
Absolutely, and I love analyzing songs like this because it really does sort of stretch my theory, to think, well, how do you explain those chords?
Yeah. How does it still work? How does it still sound good when it doesn't seem to be following most of the things that we've talked about, through this theory course?
Well, it does follow some of them. It does follow some of them. It does follow some of them. But yeah, it's very interesting. Some of these phrases I'm looking at do end on D quite a good bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to sort of think about that for a little while and see what I can come up with in terms of, this sort of C major-ish section ending on D.
Well, perhaps we can learn something new from the second listen.
Maybe we can. Let's hear it.
Again, you can go to our website, musicstudent101.com, and follow along. We'll have the notation posted up here. And here we go again. Desperate House 5. Oh, by the way, that was a play on words on a famous reality show that...
Desperate House 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, got it. Very nice.
And, So actually, come to think of it, maybe it has a feeling like you're kind of establishing shot to a big, nice beach house, and they're just kind of making their morning, blended drinks or whatever they do.
Maybe so.
All right, here we go. Desperate House 5 by Pasi Pasiaala.
So this feels like A minor to me.
Yeah. We got that bass line opening it up.
Yeah.
And then our main melody. Great saxophone work, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Perchy.
So we're ending on D there. That phrase ended on D.
But this is kind of where we think we're in C major a little bit, maybe?
Yeah. That's the same phrase, ending in D again.
Yeah. This has just a meandering feel to it.
Yeah.
Good meandering, not bad meandering.
Right.
Here we go again, main theme. Again, that's A minor to A flat major.
So this is kind of new, this F chord.
Yeah. I love this part, yeah. How did an F sharp go to F major so nicely?
Yeah.
There's that same little thing I was digging. It's like a setup.
Yeah.
Back
So
to
this head comes back
yeah, yeah.
and sort of gives structure to.
Yeah. Bass break. Get funky. And there we are with a D major chord. So he closed it out with this cool little bass break, and then what I kind of consider to be like a wrap-up theme, if anything. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't the same melody.
Yeah, just looking intuitively, I feel like movement by fourth is important here. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, we end in D right before we go back to A minor every time, so that's the fourth down.
Uh-huh.
You know, and then F is a fourth away from C, right? That's like a fourth up.
Yeah.
You know, so so I feel like somehow just looking at it intuitively, motion by fourth, you know, in a big structural sense is important. You know, and then there are third transformations and things in between those moves of fourths. But you know, like I said, I would have to sit down and really really suss all of that out at some point to be 100% sure.
Yeah. Keeping us on our toes, Pasi.
Indeed.
And well executed, I would say. That was just a fun little piece. And like I said, yeah, sometimes you just get a melody in your head. And I was whistling it at work the other day. I don't know. all that to say, good job. Great job,
Indeed,
Pasi.
yeah.
And you can hear more Pasi's music at BandLab, which is www.bandlab.com/PasiP. And of course, we'll put that link on the website too. All right, our third listener here, our third composition today will be from a new listener named Dane Howard.
Yeah. Welcome, Dane.
Dane is out of Melbourne, Australia.
Wonderful.
What does Dane have to say, Matt?
Dane says, a bit of my musical background. I'm 32 and always loved music, but never thought I had any musical talent until a couple of years ago, when my girlfriend bought me a guitar. So I started learning that which was fun, but just wasn't making any sense musically. So at the start of the pandemic last year, with all of my time at home, I thought it was the perfect time to learn keyboard and some music production. The keyboard and listening to your podcast and other online courses has propelled my musical knowledge immensely. Something else that has got me through the pandemic has been meditation. And during the last 6 months, I put my new musical skills and love of meditation together and started making meditation/relaxation music and have uploaded it to the biggest meditation app there is, Insight Timer, where I have over 50,000 plays on my music.
Wow.
Which is insane to me, as not even a year ago, I couldn't even really play an instrument. This track I'm submitting to you for the listener composition episode is my latest sleep track I've made, and I think the best one I've done yet. Both my composition and production skills are getting better and better the more tracks I make. My partner's name is Leela, and got a daughter named Willow. Leela was the one who led me into meditation and also bought me my first guitar, so she does deserve a big shout out.
Shout out to Leela.
Yeah. In saying that this track wasn't necessarily written with her in mind, it was more a feeling that just in general, this world needs more love and gratitude for everything we have on this planet. But also in saying that it's probably hard to depict love and gratitude if you don't have something to love. Interesting.
Very interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Now, going from not being able to play any kind of instrument or knowing much about music, to having some 50,000 plays a year later.
Yeah, wow.
We might have ourselves a natural here, Matt.
You never know.
I don't think I've ever recorded anything in my 3 decades of musicianship that got 50,000 plays or listens, you know?
Yeah.
I worked hard on all that stuff, man. So maybe that speaks to what you're doing here, Dane. Maybe you got something going on here, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
Let's see what he's talking about, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that.
Now this is Love, Gratitude, and Deep Sleep by Dane Howard. All right. Wow. Do you feel relaxed, Matt?
I feel very relaxed.
I feel totally relaxed. Quick aside. By the way, Dane, that was beautiful. By the way. And a quick little aside. In February, I went to get a COVID test, and they said, your blood pressure is kind of high, And ever since then, I've been really kind of checking it every day.
Right. Yeah.
And you're supposed to wake up and be up for about an hour and not eat or drink coffee or anything like that. And then I sit down and check my blood pressure, but while I'm doing that, I'm also thinking about all the other craziness going on in my life because I'm just sitting on my chair idle. So I started listening to music and little things like that. And I bet you anything, if I'm listening to this while I'm checking my blood pressure,
it would go down.
It would go down. And maybe listening to this in general might be a good thing.
Yeah, indeed.
Dane, you could be saving lives.
You're saving lives, Dane.
Yeah. Oh, man. But, I love the ambient feel. It does feel like something you might hear while you're relaxing in a health spa or something like that.
Right, yeah.
What do you think, Matt?
I actually love music like this.
Yeah?
It's a little... Not a lot of people realize this about me, but I love... meditative ambient music in this vein. Composers like Richard Skelton, who is, not enough people know about him, and other stuff like this is a real sort of secret love of mine, because I love music that sort of takes you out of your brain a little. I tend to spend a lot of time in my brain, and I feel like this is music that sort of takes you out of your brain. Takes you out of thinking about other things and kind of brings you into a different sort of mindset.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate music like that. And having tried to compose music like that, I can tell you that it is a lot harder than you think it is. Mm-hmm. You think, well, I'll just play this chord for 5 minutes and there you go. And it's not that simple.
No.
It really, really isn't that simple. Threading the line between meditative and repetitive is actually very, very difficult to do. Mm-hmm. So doing it well is a real accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I like the way he's making sleep tracks, as he calls them.
Right.
Things that people can actually listen to when they're going to sleep.
Yeah.
Because that's not always an easy thing to do.
It's a trend now, though.
Yeah, sleep tracks?
Yes.
Okay.
It is a thing that people are doing now. Music sleep tracks, ambient noise sleep tracks, they're actually podcasts designed to help you go to sleep.
Well, I would use Night Vale for that because the guy's voice was so pleasing. But then they would have like guest bands come in and all of a sudden...
it will wake you up.
Yeah, it's like, wake me up.
I would suggest one called Sleep With Me. Mm-hmm. And the host of that is...
Sleep With Me.
Yeah, he sort of tells rambling... semi-pointless stories, but in a very calm, relaxing tone of voice. And there's some free advertising for you there. Sleep With Me.
Yeah, right.
But it's a great podcast for that. I
listened to Jeff Bridges' sleep tapes for a while, and that really helped me out. Are you familiar with that?
No, I don't guess so.
It's just Jeff Bridges walking around with a location sound recording unit and kind of just talking about random things.
Which is very Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, it's just random and kind of, hey. He wakes up his wife and kind of upsets her. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart. Are you doing your thing right now? Oh, my God. It's just fun, but just random, no meaning, no.
Right.
Nothing really to have to pay attention to.
Right.
But I know that, remember Dr. Angel had that meditation bell? And you just ring it, and it's just like this one pure tone.
Right,
and you focus on the tone.
Yep.
This has a similar effect. There's just enough movement to really keep you kind of focused.
Right, yeah.
But not distracted or having to think too hard about it.
Right, yeah.
So, let's hear it again, shall we?
Let's hear it again.
And maybe we can talk through it a little bit. He says this is in the key of G. Key of D. Mm-hmm. But there's actually a droning G kind of in the bass. And it basically goes back and
Man after my own heart with the perfect fourth between the bass and the sort of implied second inversion drill. That's actually in a lot of the music I'm writing nowadays. Yeah.
It's interesting because A, it's not a chord tone, and B, it's the fourth, and C, it's in the bass voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he's going back and forth from basically, if it's in the key of D, he's just going back and forth 1 to 4.
Yeah. So what key is it really in?
That's a very good question.
So Dane says, the track's chord progression is very simple. It just floats back and forth between D major and G major that has different suspensions throughout. What gives it the movement, I think, is the use of different inversions and octaves throughout. Mm-hmm. It starts off with the reverbed piano, just playing a very long note melody using chord tones with no real harmony. Mm-hmm. The harmony being in the pad, I guess. And as the piano pushes through the reverb, it builds up and just gets busier and using a lot more notes in the melody and more harmony in the piano itself. Mm-hmm. There are a few different pads in there. There's one that plays a low droning D note the whole time, and in the full version of this track, that's on Insight Timer, split into 2 channels, hard panned left and right. Ooh, fascinating. With the right one being frequency shifted by 1 hertz, which creates a delta wave binaural beat effect heard in headphones. Interesting. The piano is the same piano VST throughout the whole piece. Just at the start, I drenched it in 100% reverb on the track itself, then slowly automated it to blend in as the piano builds up using an aux send to get more of the dry signal of the piano. And then there's also a fair bit of delay on the piano as well.
Mm-hmm. So you'll definitely hear that delay and reverb on that piano, how spacey it is. And what he's saying, I think, is that he's automating dryness into the piano. It starts off real wet down with reverb. And
and the same sound gradually gets less reverberated.
Now, I've listened for this effect, and it must be very subtle because, for one thing, it might get drowned out by the delay.
Right.
And then also the pads are constantly moving, so it's kind of hard to hear the piano decaying. You hear those initial notes.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard to hear the decay where you would really notice the reverb, you know?
Yeah, I'll listen specifically for that this time and see what I can hear.
Well, let's listen and see if we can talk about some of these things as they come, shall we? All right. Again, this is Dane Howard with Love, Gratitude, and Deep Sleep. Here we go. I hear an A there. There's an A there, actually. So it's kind of like a droning chord, like a D major chord. That D's in there somewhere. And there's our G, our 4. Yeah. You hear that strange pitch dropping a little bit?
Yeah. That sounds like G, right?
That was a D, actually.
That was D.
So now we're getting blurred a little
backwards.
bit. Now we're getting blurred. That happened to me, too. There's that G right there. We're using headphones, so I do hear something, that binaural thing he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's like a strange effect. And I wasn't sure if he included that in the shorter version, but I do feel like I'm feeling some kind of throbbing effect in the stereo field. Now it seems like we're starting to establish a little bit more of a pulse, where it was more airy and the meter was kind of undefined. And that piano is picking up an activity a little bit.
Is it picking up in activity, or is the reverberation decreasing enough that you can sort of pick it out of the pads at this point?
Well, I think that this is a theme that's actually being introduced. I feel like we finally have some melodic, like a melody going on, you know? So it sounds like that we've established a bit of a motif.
Yeah.
suspensions in there.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I feel like the piano is cleaning up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely feels like the piano is developing in terms of rhythms and busyness and texture. This kind of feels like it's the climax, of the piece. And again, we continue. We're just really playing around with these main 3 or 4 notes. Same kind of theme continuing on.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of very slowly fade out. That little lingering pad is awesome. So I think that was kind of what I feel to be that main theme.
Isn't it amazing how much music you can create out of just 2 chords?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that felt awesome. I do feel more relaxed having listened to that.
Absolutely.
Even with us yammering through it, as we do.
as we tend to do.
Mm-hmm. So again, Dane, that was awesome, and thanks again for sending that in because we have 2 new firsts. We've never done hip hop for these things, and
we've never done ambient music.
Ambient, yeah. And I was nervous about the ambient thing because I thought to myself, a lot of times it is pads and just intentionally not very difficult, minimal, very
Yeah.
But it turns out we can have some fun with these things and talk about
absolutely. We can have fun with just about anything.
Yes, we can. Thanks for the playground, Dane. And it also sounds like the best place to hear Dane's music is on the app Insight Timer. So check that out. Okay, so shall we move on?
Let's do.
Now we have an old friend.
An old acquaintance from one of the previous listener podcasts.
Yes, you may recall a piece called This Would Make You Proud by our friend Cody M. Gibson. And in the time since then, Cody has actually been going through a transition. And Cody now comes back to us as Melody Brook Gibson.
Uh-huh.
First off, congratulations, Melody.
Mm-hmm. Congrats.
So what's new with Melody?
So in Melody's new composition, Ashes to Ashes.
Uh-huh, yeah.
She says, I wrote it for a trans-mask friend in France who was struggling with their transition and living under the tyrannical thumb of their parents. He was so close to escaping, but still so attached to the idea of a family that would never accept him for who he truly was. It was around Christmas time, and I thought of how ashes drifting into nothing reminded me of letting go. His chosen name also happened to be Ashton, and he went by Ash. So after much consolation from me, being somewhat of a mentor/big sister to him, I decided to let my heart pour out and attempt to calm his anxiety. One of my new role models is a trans woman composer by the name of Lena Rain, based out of Seattle, whom I really hope to meet one day as she is exactly the same age as me.
I wonder if Rain is a play on the Seattle thing.
I don't know. It's spelled R-A-I-N-E.
Yeah,
with an E at the end, possibly.
I do like the idea of writing a piece of music for a friend of yours who's going through a hard time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Isn't that
that's a time-honored tradition.
It's underplayed how much thought goes into that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this is Ashes to Ashes by Melody B. Gibson. wow. Melody never disappoints us when it comes to production value
Indeed.
and an overall sonic experience.
Indeed.
All right. You know, Melody initially had another piece that we were going to use, but since then we've been in contact, and she sent me to her SoundCloud page.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of going through some of those and really loving everything I was hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also going to let you know on the website where you can find more of these people's music.
Absolutely.
But I was outside on my front porch. You know how we've had these kind of afternoon showers?
Oh, yeah.
Lately, not as violent, but just real wet, real rain just pouring down.
For a while, yeah.
And I was listening to Ashes while sitting on my porch watching the rain. And it was just such a cool thing. I don't know. It was just it seems like the music was almost written for what was happening. The clouds were coming in, you know?
Yeah.
And it felt like I was a little
Beautiful
soundtrack moment in my own life, thanks to Melody. But anyway, what we have is kind of is a very meditative piece.
Indeed. Yep.
And we're doing these chords. It's really basically this one chord progression 3 times in a row. Are you ready?
Yeah.
We're in the key of C.
Right. 1.
And then
3.
3. Again, 1.
Lots of neo-Romanian stuff today.
Yeah. Did you guys know you're being
Romanian?
And then we go, again, the third time around, we go C and 1 to, we got a 6, and then to 4, major 4, and then we drop that third.
Yeah.
So we have a minor 4 now, and then back to 1.
A lot of movement from 4 to 1 today, too.
Yeah, and you know what? This is something I hear a lot of, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like for some reason when you're going to do that thing where you drop a major to a minor, the 4 chord is just a great place to do that. I'm not sure why.
That's a good question.
But I hear that more and more, you know?
I wonder if it has something to do with the third of the 4 chord being scale degree 6, which, we sort of have 2 widely accepted, natural 6 and a flat 6, as scale degrees, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it has something to do with that, with the flexibility scale degree 6 has, whether it's flat 6 or natural 6, or and that makes the 4 chord easy to shift between major and minor.
Yeah.
Just a guess off the top of my head.
Well, when we talk about a plagal cadence, that we know that works out, right? So if we were in the key of C major, and if we just do like something like 1, 4, 5, 6, and then 4,
Yep.
1.
Yep.
But for some reason, 4, and then moving this. Oh, I know what's happening. Okay, I know what's happening. Dig this. So we got the 4 chord. There's our third. Moving down, it's a chromatic walk down.
Oh, yeah.
To the A flat, and then to G of the C. The 5 of the C.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
That's why it helps. That's why it works. Matt's like, oh yeah, of course.
You didn't know that?
No, I never actually listened for that. You know what I mean?
All harmony is actually counterpoint.
I never sat there and dug into it like that.
Yeah. All harmony is counterpoint.
Now I know how it works. Melody, were you thinking about that? Let's hear what else Melody has to say now that we've heard it one time through.
And Jeremy's had his lesson on chromatic harmony.
Probably a refresher course, but I never paid attention the first time.
Melody says, I enjoy using a tonic to submediant and vice versa progression. And I just adore dropping the third by a half step to create a kind of longing/lovey feeling.
Which we were just talking about.
Same thing Radiohead does in Creep, I bet. Texture-wise, I love using tremolo strings. Yeah, who doesn't? Those are tremolo strings are awesome. And lots of slow shifting dynamics. I included several repeating motives within that. If you listen, you should hear reemerge. And of course, because I love major 7s, you'll hear some of that going on for some neato resolutions here and there. Yeah.
Like at the very end. Yeah, and Radiohead. Yeah, we're actually playing Creep right now, and the other band I was in, it was key of G
Yeah.
to 3, and then to 4. Special, so very special.
Yeah.
But I'm a creep. So yeah, they do that too. Maybe that's another place where I've heard it before.
Maybe that's why you like it so much.
That I really love that song.
When they use it in that song, you know, it gives this sense of, you know, having turned from a sense of admiration of all the special people to a sort of beating yourself up again. You know, when they say, "I wish I was special." You know?
Yeah.
It's almost like that feeling that chord creates deteriorates when it goes from major to minor, right?
Special, but I'm not that special.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's almost like it's almost a deterioration, right?
Yes, yes.
Beautiful.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. And I'm glad she mentioned dynamics, because that's another place where she really shines. Just the whole, it really, dynamics mean a lot more to the emotion of the music. They speak a lot more to the emotion of the music. That being how loud and soft parts get. Probably going to give credit. Yeah,
ignore dynamics at your peril, which is something I tell my composition students a lot. You'd be amazed at how much they contribute to the shape, you know, to the phrase, you know, and how much they take something that's starting to sound boring and make them sound less boring. You know, you would think simply playing it louder wouldn't be that much of a difference, but it can absolutely be. Yeah.
Well, with all these things in mind, let's give it a listen one more time, shall we?
Let's do.
This is Ashes to Ashes by Melody Brook Gibson. From the distance, a droning C note fades in. Actually, this is the third of the chord. This is an E note. Building and building.
There's the full chord.
Oh God, yeah. There's that 3 chord, E minor.
And she mentioned tremolos. That's what the violins are doing when there's there's that sort of shaking sound.
Yeah.
You know, the high strings.
Yeah. This is it's like a breathing kind of feel. You know, it's like, here's that 6. Moving to 4. And the minor 4.
Then minor 4, yeah.
And a quick breath. Back to 1. That was the first time through the progression.
Right, yeah.
Now we have added some elements. We have piano sprinkling in the background.
Playing a sort of arpeggiated melody, maybe. And playing in thirds.
Yeah. I think that light piano is kind of representing the ashes or the embers she was talking about. This is the last time
A
through.
little decoration added to the...
I'm enjoying it so much, I'm having a hard time saying anything. I like this right here, this little suspension. That's the sharp 7.
Yeah.
That she likes so much. And then again, there's our 4 chord. Dropping that 3rd to the minor 4 chord. And back to 4 again. And the minor 4. We do it twice at the end. And then back to 1.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a very competent use of dynamics. Yeah, with a natural kind of up and swell, and decrease. Yeah.
Yeah. And the tremolo really points that out. That kind of a.
That sounded accurate. Some kind of third kind of thing like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess whenever you're using leading tones like that, it's going to add some good drama, some push and pull.
Oh, sure.
To your piece. So,
Oh, sure.
well thought out.
Yep. All right.
Okay. So, again, thanks, Melody, and sounds great as always. And if you guys want to hear more of Melody's music, check it out on SoundCloud. Look up Melo B. That's MELOBEE. We'll also put that on the website. And if you want to contact Melody or any of the composers, just reach out to us at info@musicstudent101. We don't give addresses out on the show, but we'll be happy to connect you guys. Moving on. We now have a listener from Sussex, which is in, I guess, southern England, Adam House.
Adam House. And Adam says, this track was written as part of my master's degree in professional media composition, which I completed and graduated from last year. The brief was to write a track for a corporate video advertising the dangers of hacking into businesses. I thought an industrial/hybrid approach could work with the dark and gritty elements of the film described in the brief. After watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I got thinking about how computer hackers are like modern-day cowboys, and I wanted to write the piece like a modern-day spaghetti western. I wondered if I could take the idea of three-note coyote call motive and blend it with industrial percussion, guitars, and synths. Ennio Morricone meets Nine Inch Nails meets Stranger Things. Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's listen to it.
Let's just play it. Wow, nice.
Okay. You hear all those layers?
Oh, yeah.
Man, this is packed with intrigue.
Indeed.
And you know, we were talking about some firsts we've had. I mean, I don't think we've done any, what I consider to be glitch kind of music, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a proper word for it, but it's got certainly these kind of distorted, peaked out kind of sounds.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And but it's not just that. He's right. We'll get into the patches he used in the instrumentation in just a little bit.
Sure.
What else was I gonna say? Yeah, I definitely heard elements of Stranger Things in there. You know, these arpeggiating kind of synth sounds.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you can put a note on arpeggiation and then just hit one note and not hold a chord, and it'll do that kind of thing. But anyways, here's what Adam said about this that you just heard. I visualized a team of young hackers sitting in a dimly lit abandoned warehouse. The industrial percussion, distorted synths, and mangled sound design of the opening bars set the scene. Think 24 in Homeland, right?
Yep.
The sustained rising string section that follows is to show tension. Perhaps the hackers are struggling to break through the company's firewall. I then had this vision of a virtual standoff between the hackers and the company in cyberspace as the 3-note guitar motive is heard. I believe that's a...
Yeah, right.
It's talking about.
Yeah.
I guess it was like... That thing. The next section builds over strings and synths into that edgy rock section, which is the pivotal moment in the video. Can the hackers be stopped? The hackers soon realize that they are being beaten, and strings build suspense into the short synth section. The 3-note guitar motive returns over a calm and collected groove to show that the company are no longer vulnerable. At the time of writing this piece, I had very little theory knowledge, so I am not quite sure what is going on harmonically. However, there are lots of guitar parts amongst the heavily processed sound design and percussion. And speaking of sound design and percussion, the patches he used, I don't know if you guys are familiar with any of these, but these are all different effects and things that you can, well, I guess just MIDI sound effects and so forth that you can use.
That you can, acquire.
A patch is just a digital instrument, I guess.
Right, yeah. It's a sound.
Yes.
In the simplest terms.
A sound, yes. Yeah. Heavy velocity, damage, DM307. UHE, I'm not sure what that is. Zebra synth. Adagietta strings from 8DO. Arterius synths for 80s arpeggiator. See? Arpeggiator. He can't remember which one. Organic bass and guitar effects. Lots of saturation from Toys Decapitator. Isn't that a great name?
Yeah.
Toys Decapitator. And various guitar pedals, electro harmonics, octave. So, again, aside from all the other sounds, there's just so much going on in terms of the effects he applied to his instruments and the
and
patches.
even more motion by thirds in the chords, even more neo-Riemannian third motion. It is just a thing. It is just a thing.
I was not thinking about that when I pieced these together. Maybe it was subconscious.
Maybe it was. Who knows?
I love the fact that oftentimes I kind of write my own story in my head when I hear these compositions, but I think Adam has laid this out quite nicely.
Well, he's definitely got an idea, a programmatic idea.
And I'm not sure if I wasn't clear on whether the video ever came together or if he was just doing this as a hypothesis. You know, like sometimes you test yourself. What would I compose for a love scene? What would I compose for a scene where someone's breaking into something?
Right. We kind of, our good friend Craig Brandwine, we kind of put him to the test with that, right?
We did. That was a fun episode.
Yeah.
And he passed it with flying colors. And
he nailed it pretty good.
So let's see here. I guess let's just go ahead and listen to it again and see if we can identify the storyline and some of these elements we're talking about. And even though I have this sectioned out on our notes, Matt, I do feel like this is a through composed piece, right? Because
Largely, yeah, I would say so.
there is a return of a couple of themes, like you said, and we'll see if we can catch that.
Well, the return of themes doesn't mean it's not through composed.
Okay.
Right. So let's see. Let me look. I'll think about that as I listen and see if I think it's through composed. I think I probably do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, this is Sabotage by Adam House. This is a E flat minor kind of situation.
Well, at the moment it's. Yeah.
Or yeah, maybe there's not a third in there.
Yeah, maybe.
Our team of young hackers sit in a dimly lit abandoned warehouse. More medians, right?
Yeah.
This is G flat to E flat minor. E flat minor.
Yeah.
It's hard to get the diatonic chords when we don't really have a key in mind,
Yeah. Yeah, E flat to G flat doesn't really establish a key.
Yeah. I hear those strings.
Are these the hackers?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. This is a new theme here. We're going A minor to G.
But still, the emphasis on thirds is both in the chords that are moving and in the melody notes.
Yeah.
There's a certain organicism, right? There's a unity of structure there.
Yeah. Now you hear that guitar? This is that spaghetti western thing you was
Yeah,
talking
this is the good and bad and the ugly part, right?
Yeah. This is the standoff. The virtual standoff. This is the 3-note guitar motif he's talking about. It just falls down each time in an Andalusian cadence kind of fashion. Oh yeah. This is where we're wondering if the hackers can be stopped. I love this little breakdown.
Yeah.
I'm loving that bass.
Yeah, that's definitely, that key change is a new
development.
thing. Yeah. The signal's a new part of the story, right?
Yeah. I think this is where the hackers realize that they're being beaten.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is that part. And now we got a flat back and forth, A flat minor.
Right.
So if we are in E flat minor, let's just go into 4. And that's kind of how it feels.
And we've gone to 4 again.
Yeah. Right, because I thought we had started off in E flat minor, actually.
Right,
So
yeah.
maybe, All right, now we got the strings coming back in. Everything is now calm and collected, winding things down. Oh, there it is. There's that motive again. Doo-doo-doo. It's that 1 flat 7 1.
Right.
and out like that. We beat the hackers.
Yeah.
Our firewall.
Impenetrable in the end.
Impenetrable.
Lots of perfect fourth motion, as opposed to the third motion that was the uncertainty of, being hacked, or the potential to be hacked.
That's interesting.
Well,
I like that.
I mean, when, at the very end there, he's moving in fourths, right? He's moving from A flat to E flat.
Mm-hmm. A flat
Yeah.
to E flat.
Yeah.
All minor.
Yeah. Whereas, so that's a perfect fourth, right? That's a perfect interval.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas thirds, be they major or minor, are dissonant, are unstable compared to the fourth, right? Yeah. And he was moving back and forth in thirds in the beginning, and through a lot of the.
It was a G flat to E flat minor, wasn't it?
Yeah.
G flat to that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good, quick, and easy way to establish more stability at the end, which conforms to the program, right? Conforms to the story.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
It's like I said, if anything ever happens to Daft Punk, and Tron, and there's another Tron that comes out. Did you ever see the movie Tron, the more recent one?
I don't think I ever saw the more recent one. I saw the original, of course, back in the day.
I have the soundtrack, and it kind of reminds me of a lot of the stuff I'm hearing right now, and that's a compliment because I love Daft Punk.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they've officially.
I think they broke up.
Yeah, they officially broke up. So
took their masks, their helmets off, and everything.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
But back to Adam. We digress. Back to Sabotage. Just a wonderful piece, and really, I just love how, all the thought and all the layers and textures and what Ollie put into this.
Me too. It's a sophisticated little piece of music.
Absolutely, with a great storyline. All right, we have one last one here to listen to from our friend Stefan Jacques,
who is a follower of ours on. The big social media giant that everybody is on, that we also have a couple of pages on.
The Music Student 101 Facebook group.
Indeed.
Exclamation point.
Exclamation point.
Okay. We got to get a lot of good back and forth from some of our listeners, and this is one of them.
Yes.
Stefan, now this is, we have another song, and what we like to do is just, you have your lyrics over there, Matt?
Do I have my lyrics over here? Yes, I do.
Now, when we're doing these singers, we obviously don't want to talk while they're singing because that would be like the cocktail party effect. That would be weird.
Right.
So we're going to talk about this as much as we can before we actually play it.
A good plan. Good plan.
Okay, now this is a very interesting piece. This is called "Don't Fear the Dead, Fear the Living Instead."
Right. Yeah.
And what does Stefan have to say about this? So
Stefan says, "It's a song I've been working on for more than a year, I think. Not uncommon for me. The first version of it was in 6/8. That didn't work, so I put it on the shelf. I do that with a lot of my songs. Then later, new ideas will form. I see it as being like a fermentation process. Eventually, I had the idea to put it in a 4/4 shuffle instead. That worked. I reworked the chord progression and ended up with a verse and a chorus. Coming up with the bridge section required some music theory heavy lifting. It uses some pivotal diminished 7 chords. The song is crammed with minor chords and diminished fifths. So it's a very dark and brooding sound, and I wanted the lyrics to reflect that as well. Writing the actual lyrics took me the longest, but I finished them this week and am really glad how it all turned out. To me, the lyrics have a very Edgar Allan Poe kind of vibe. The song as a whole has sort of a demented, dark, jazz-infused feel. This demo is just me and my acoustic guitar. It has a very thin, flat, rattly sound, which I find intriguing. I'm planning to record it for real in the near future."
Okay.
Yeah. Nice stuff.
Now, we'll let you guys be the judge. Does this sound kind of like an Edgar Allan Poe thing to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does. I think there's a definitely a I don't know if it's a legitimate subgenre of folk music, the sort of the macabre, sort of dark folk music kind of subgenre, but it is in my brain, at least, and this fits in well.
Yeah. Now, of course, me and Matt have already listened to it a few times.
Right.
But just to give you an idea of the lyrics, and we'll put these up on our website again.
Right, yeah.
But just the opening. How very much have you to learn, my dear? Grave are the trespasses of man I fear. No child, don't fear the dead, but fear the living instead.
Yes.
Maybe it is a little macabre. Maybe it is a little Edgar Allan Poe. We were talking about this earlier, weren't we, Matt? What does that sound like to you?
They should use it on The Walking Dead.
Yes.
That's my opinion. They really need to find a way to use the song on The Walking Dead because it's just perfect on so many levels.
I feel like it's the premise of The Walking Dead,
It
right?
kind of is the subtext of the zombies are bad, but it's not the zombies that you really have to worry about. It's the other living people. Although they never use the word zombies on that show, but still.
Walkers? Is that what they call them?
Walkers, yeah.
Walkers. But and you guys haven't heard this yet, but brace yourselves because Stefan has I think he has kind of an old world voice, you know?
Yeah.
And it definitely emotes a foreboding tone.
Yeah. You'd almost imagine this being a Leonard Cohen song or something.
Right, yeah. And I felt that tone before I even read the lyrics.
Sure,
you know?
yeah.
And this is not just... don't feel like, Stefan, that you're not enunciating properly. You could be Paul McCartney.
It's a vocal style.
Yes, anyone I listen to, I'm never hearing the words. I'm hearing the music first.
Yeah.
I have to sit down with the lyrics and read them as I listen,
sure.
You know? So, and then at the end, he was talking about some of these dark things. This is very interesting.
The diminished chords, which you referenced.
Yeah, you're gonna hear him open up with like this G with a flat 5. So it's 1, 3, flat 5. So G major, flatting the 5, and then it goes to a. So it's kind of like. The G major flat 5, G diminished straight up.
Yeah.
And so on into the song.
Sure.
And then it's kind of interesting what he does with the verse. He's like doing an E minor to an F sharp major, but keeping the E in the bass.
Yeah, interesting, yeah.
That's a cool thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It is becoming an unresolved seventh, right? A 4-2 chord.
Ooh.
Yeah, a Neapolitan 4-2.
Whoa, dude, whoa.
That just resolves back into the tonic chord. Yeah.
Because really it is F sharp, right, with the E in the bass, but we're just sticking that bass up there on the low end. Wow, man. And then for the change up, we go to the minor 5, which is B minor, bouncing back and forth between the 1 and 3 in the bass. And then we land on this crazy C sharp at 11 flat 9 chord. I mean, this is the coolest chord I think I've heard in a long time, isn't it?
It is.
And then the change up, we go to a G minor, which flattens to a G diminished, and there's just a whole bunch of crazy diminishedness, and you're going to really feel the effect. Before we go ahead and play this, I do want to say one thing. Here's what I like about a lot of these compositions, and really all of our listener compositions that have come in. It's something I can learn from.
Sure.
These people are not afraid to let the music breathe. You know?
Yeah.
They're not afraid to repeat a theme or two over and over if they need to, or as many times as they feel necessary.
Right, yeah.
I feel like when I write something, sometimes it's like I just move on, boom, 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 to the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like otherwise I'm just boring people. But that's not the way music works.
It really isn't. And yeah, it's it can take a little discipline sometimes to learn how to live in a particular part of what you're writing before you move on to the next part. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually.
Yeah.
Because that's when we really start to find the hooks and the themes.
Yeah.
And then the earworms that stick with us and make us think, gosh, I want to hear something else from that person. You know?
Yeah. And, think of the disconnect between the brain, the intellect, which thinks this is just one chord,
Mm-hmm.
But then when it's actually played, the sensory input of hearing that chord and having a chance to absorb that chord and appreciate that chord.
Mm-hmm.
While intellectually, a single chord and even a single 2 chords isn't hard to process at all. It's not really about processing intellectually when you listen to music.
Yeah. And, our songwriters, that's a part of what they do. They repeat a lot of the stuff, but fear the living instead,
Yeah.
There wasn't like really there wasn't really like a moment like that. There wasn't like a chorus for the rap piece from Michael Chapman.
Yeah.
But the music itself was repeating the same theme over and over again.
Yeah.
To let us get that in our head, our brain fills that in, and we can go in and focus on the lyrics. You know,
I'm impressed by the amount of neo-Riemannian relationships in all of these. I mean, that's just really wild, and the significance of the interval of a fourth in all of these, which is also just really, really wild.
Can you give the elevator pitch version of the neo-Riemannian analysis for the listeners who might not have heard that before?
Yeah, sorry. Neo-Riemannian is basically the relationship between a chord and another chord that is a major or minor third away in their roots, either up or down. So G to E flat is a neo-Riemannian relationship. C to A flat is a neo-Riemannian relationship. And these are just things we've listened to today, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of these, and yes, there is a. We probably should have said this at the top of the show, but yeah, that is a major or minor third away relationship. You know? Or go back and listen to that podcast episode on neo-Riemannian transformations on third relationships.
We never did one.
Yes, we did.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
We did one on mediants. Is that what
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah,
Okay.
mediants.
I was like,
go back and listen to the chromatic mediant relationship.
Hey, by the time we've done 100 of these, I really have no idea what we've done and what we haven't done. You know?
I'm just proud of myself for remembering. It's like, no, we did that. I remember the little chart, man. We totally did that.
We should do one, though, on neo-Riemannian analysis.
We did. We could just call it chromatic medians.
We could fill a whole episode. Oh, we did.
Oh, we did. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, we digress.
Indeed.
It's time for us to go ahead and get out of here. And we talked a little bit between that. But again, listen for cool things like, the flat fifth major chord and then the diminished kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we said he has the E minor go into F sharp with the E minor in the bass, right?
Yep.
Third inversion, F sharp 7 chord. Listen for that crazy, super thick C sharp 11 flat 9 chord, and then the diminishedness that really happens crazy in the change up.
Right.
And then the only other thing, listen to the very last chord. I know what it is. Stefan knows what it is. Matt knows what it is. Do you know what it is?
Do you know what it is?
Don't fear the dead. Fear the living instead. By Stefan Jacques.
How very much have you to learn, my dear? Brave are the trespassers of men, I fear. No child will fear the dead, but fear the living instead. But fear the living instead. But fear the living instead. Gone are the days of childlike innocence. What I will tell will haunt you decades hence. No child will fear the dead, but fear the living instead. But fear the living instead. But fear the living instead. Sleep will give no more rest. Enter the place where all the darkness nests. You have come